This is AO Automotive Reviews, and today we have the Mercedes EQC 400, folks. This is a 2020 Mercedes-Benz. Um, this car has 90% of the body structure is shared with a GLC class, and Mercedes did this to keep costs low. And both front and the rear motors in this particular car is insulated, um, just to keep sound deadening down. But the first thing we're going to do is look at this design. With the insulation, that just adds to the luxury and to the ride comfort. Um, what a beautiful design with the GLC class, and it's nice how they, sort of remade this body. The body wasn't remade really, but some things were remade about it to so you'll know that it's an electric car, such as the wheels and the front fascia. But again, what a nice design. That's it. That's the car just driving, along a rocky path in beautiful waters in the background. It's still a very, very nice design. Um, Still to be admired. And I like this smiley face. It's very nice, letting you know that I am electric. Electrifying. What a nice car. Now, this car uses steel coil springs up front, and in the rear, this basically makes for a nice cabin. And the bad thing about this particular car is that it's not as fast as its competition, and the driving range is not, not as good as the Tesla Model X. However, this car does rate high in luxury and comfort. What another beautiful scenery. And the car just, it fits right in. Nice and elegant and sharp. Now, this is a 402 horsepower with 560 foot-pounds of torque. It can get 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. And that's behind the Tesla Model X, which does it in 4.4 seconds. And in ludicrous mode, the Tesla Model X can do it in 2.7 seconds. The range in this particular car is only like 219 miles. And in the Tesla X, it's 300 plus. But besides that, the car does have, if you like the G Class and you wanted to get electric, this would be, this would be the ideal vehicle. 'Cause actually, if you like a G Class, I don't think anything's going to talk you out of it. However, the Tesla Model X do look just as nice. Um, what a great design, folks. The GLC design, and this EQC is also a great design. Now, this starts off at a base price of $68,895, and you can get the premium one for $73,265. But if you got the advanced one, that's $77,615. Now, if you can't afford it, you're gonna want the advanced one because it's gonna have all the features that you would like. This is pretty nice how it shows a smartphone, and it shows that you can open it with a smartphone. Again, the EQC is located right here just to let people know what it is. And again, this is it being charged. Now, they say this car can charge um, from 10% to 100% in 10 hours. Now, The fast charger, which we see here, can do it in 40 minutes. But if you're at home and you're using a charger at home, it's going to take 10 hours to charge. So while you're sleeping, the car should charge to full. Now this car with the miles per gallon, it gets 80 city and 75 highway. That's because of the high velocity. Electric cars are a little different. Unlike gas that would get better on the highway, these cars get better in the city because you're getting with electricity, the motors are working, constantly on the highway. And so then on the highway, there's not so much regeneration. But on the slow way, there's a lot of energy regeneration. And with this particular car, you can use the brakes for, they have a pedals behind for regeneration, and you choose, by hitting the pedal, depending upon how many times, you choose the regeneration. And that's which causes the energy to go into the resistors and be used by the electric motor. So you're basically regenerating, which is a nice feature. Again, you see the light here letting you know that everything is good to go when you are charging it. And it's just another angle. Now what you see here is start charging session. What you see now, Mercedes has two 10.25 inches displays, one for the instrument panel and one for the infotainment system. And what you see here is the infotainment system, and the infotainment system is letting you know that the charging session has begun and that the connector is connected, and it's letting you know what's available. And it also lets you know the open hours, so you can go there to get charged. It tells you the connector ID. Charging session successfully started. Please unplug your car after charging, otherwise additional costs may be applied. So you're going to pay extra. You may pay extra just for sitting there and letting it sit. A lot of people do that. They'll go to work, they'll charge up their cars, and they'll just let it sit. And if it's taking less than 40 minutes, but perhaps they'll come out and change it. But that's just something to think about. Be aware so you don't get those other charges that may be applied. This is just letting you know the charge state. This is a pretty nice display. I mean, Mercedes displays, their infotainment system is good, and they got the inbox, and it's like an assistant, and the assistant also joins other assistants, and so they work, flawlessly together to give you whatever you need. Like if you need a rest area, it'll tell you where the rest area is at. If you need to buy something at a restaurant, it'll tell you where the restaurant's at, and it'll work with Siri, and it'll work with Android Auto. So there's an interplay in it. However, the system is so advanced that they say there's a learning curve with this particular system, because it's so complex. But some people may like complex. I like complex things. If you got time, that's great, to learn those things, and it helps you feel good. It's always good for the mind to learn, new things. That helps you with old age, especially when you get older, and prevents dementia and all kinds of things. You got to keep your mind working, and Mercedes does that with their infotainment system. But that's also looked at as one of the negatives too, because sometimes, in a hustle, you don't have time to learn new systems, which is something we have to live with. But this right here is just telling you the navigation and the EQ system and the radio station. And this is just telling you what's happening during the charging session, the consumption, the energy flow of the vehicle. Just giving you an idea, what's happening, how energy is flowing from one place to the other. And this right here is just, another screen just showing you the vehicle in charging options, consumption, energy flow, just what we looked at, but before we looked at the graph. Just letting you know it's at 80%. This right here is a trunk space. The trunk space, they're saying in this particular car that it could be more. What happened with Mercedes is that they built this car based upon the GLC, which has a combustion motor, and they didn't, start from scratch like Tesla. However, Mercedes did get, as on the Ncap test, which is a test done in Belgium, that it's just like the National Highway Safety and Traffic Administration in the United States. But what this one does, they test the same thing. Mercedes did get 5 stars, in their test, so the car is totally safe. But they didn't do well in the driver assist system. Mercedes doesn't, from my understanding, I may be wrong, if you guys know differ, it appears as though they don't have the semi-autonomous driving like Tesla does. They're not looking at that avenue for some reason, which is odd for an electric car nowadays. A lot of people buy electric cars, but you expect also to get the autonomous driving feature, because honestly, that aids and that helps with everything. You can't imagine it. But basically, what they're saying is because Mercedes built this car on a combustion assembly line that's shared with GLC, with the GLC model, and basically what that does, it doesn't have the front in the front, and it doesn't have as much space in the back. They say you expect more space than this, and you expect, that's one of the positives about having an electric car. But they say Mercedes did this so they wouldn't have to lay off people and wouldn't have to spend a lot of money in production. They went ahead and continue with it. And they say sometime that this EQC 400 was basically like a stepchild of Mercedes because they wasn't so enthusiastic about it, and they didn't put forth the money into it that they should have, like Tesla did. And that's like a negative. However, they did do good on the Ncap test. They're just not, it's just not as advanced as the Tesla Model X and the Model S. But of course, it competes with the Model X. This right here is what you see here are these tubes. Now, this is supposed to protect the car because they built it on a combustion frame. They had to do some changes. Tesla doesn't have these tubes like this. However, this is not really a big argument because if they got a 5 in the Ncap test, it doesn't really mean anything. But the Tesla has the frunk up here to store more stuff, and they would have deeper space in the compartment, which would make a difference. But if you want a Mercedes, you're going to overlook that. The batteries are still down at the base of the car, which makes it different. But the Tesla X, Model X, the engine is down, probably perhaps a little lower than this. But this still has a lower center of gravity, and it still get 5. So it's still doing an awesome job. But this is just a look at the chassis. You see the springs, and you also see back here is where they use the ear springs in the back. This is a particularly nice car, the EQ. Now Mercedes is going to come up with like 10 other vehicles underneath the EQ line. This right here is just another cutout of the side angle of this particular car. Now, this car does include, as far as safety, it does has a blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, and the adaptive cruise control. But it just doesn't have the autonomous driving. Now with warranties, this car has a 4-year, 50,000 mile limited warranty, and it also has a 4-year, 50,000 mile powertrain. And as far as the electric warranty is 8-year, 100,000 miles. You don't have to get oil changes and all the other stuff you have to do with a combustion motor. You don't need all that. So Mercedes didn't really see, the point in having a complimentary scheduled maintenance, which would be nice still if you had that. Gives a peace of mind that you don't have to pay for it. Because in some time you're paying payments, and who wants to pay maintenance too? But it would help if they did have a complimentary maintenance thing package. But this right here is a cutout of the car. And this right here is what you see is the it's actually the back part of the car, and this is just a computer system, and it's just showing you the back of the chassis. You can see how it works. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. And it's right here, the plugs for the computer system and all that, and the charging system for the batteries. And this is what you see, and this is why the car. Let's go back and look at this. But the car still has a. Let's see if we go back, we can find that. Nope. Let's see. We'll just go to this picture. What you see is the tubes. The tubes go up in the front too, like that, and that's what causes the that's where the shifter and everything's at. Cut out of the back end. That's what we just looked at. And this is the front. This is where the front would be if they did have it. But this sits high for some reason. And that's because it's based on a combustion platform. That's why it sits high like that. Normally, this would sit in more mid, and the front would be here. But it's just another. Mercedes had to do what it had to do, and this is what it had to do is to put the motor like this because it was based on a combustion platform, and it didn't start off from scratch like the Tesla did. Tesla started off from scratch. I mean, and all the manufacturers, regardless of what, if you start off from scratch, you're gonna have a better product. It's like having a sports car. You have to start off from scratch. You have to, and when you start off from scratch, you get better performance, and in long run, you're gonna get your money back. The company's gonna recoup. But if you don't start from scratch, you're not. That's what's gonna happen. I'm not, into the car business or anything. So there are a lot of people that know a lot more than I know as far as production and building car lines. Unless you're a CEO of a Mercedes or some other big company and you know how it's ran, you should know all the other parts. But if you're not a CEO or a big time manager, you really don't know anything. Um, so, but I believe Mercedes did the best of what they can do, and they did a good product. But however, Tesla's in front of them, and this is a competitive market, and you know you have to fight. And if they don't fight, if you don't fight and you don't start off, you don't do it the way it's supposed to be done, you're going to lose. But Mercedes is, this is a car, those who want to buy a combustion engine will see this, and if they want to buy an electric car, you know, they will, you know, perhaps look at this one. But if you want to look at the mileage and all that, you'll also look at the Model X. And if you're worried about the environment, you're going to get the one that's going to consume less energy. And so, regardless of what, Mercedes, they would still, they put themselves in a bad position. However, they will sell these cars. It's a nice design. Still got the engine start, and stop button right here. This is what I believe it to be. We'll see when we get more different angles. But Mercedes is elegant, and they bring this to this particular car. This is the back end, and there's still a divider here, and a lot in electric cars it's supposed to be more roomier. It ain't supposed to be here. This hump in the middle, but still, the seats do fold down for more space. And again, this is the what we're looking at is just the interior compartments, and that's the back. Looks like the 60/40 split. Same angle we saw earlier with the infotainment system. Stellar. This is really nice. This right here is the shifter paddles, and basically that's for energy regeneration that I spoke of earlier. This right here is just a navigation, how you're looking at it as you're driving and getting to your location. This one doesn't have a head-up display, at least I don't see it here in this model. If you think if you know if the head-up display is offered, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Let us know. You know, uh, you know, it's great to get constructive criticism. It helps. These design of the vents are also nice, and the pedals. Mercedes they have great quality. This right here is ambient lighting system, how you can change the colors. That's really nice, a nice touch. It goes with your mood. Mercedes, I'm tired, and then it'll open up the sunroof and everything else. This right here has a panoramic, panoramic roof, or sometimes I even say that wrong, so excuse me. Panoramic roof. Again, that's the vents again. Also, we have the mood lighting comes facing here. The one thing I always notice about cars is always look at the lines, and these join really well. I think Mercedes wanted to show us this, the craftsmanship, and and how it lines up like that. I used to have a car. It actually was a Volkswagen Golf R32. It didn't line up here, and I remember noticing that, and that bothered me through the whole 5 years I had the car. It's that it didn't line up right, and people who like Mercedes are going to pay attention to this. They're going to like this and appreciate this craftsmanship. And they use this. They use the Burmester sound system, which is one of the best sound systems. But that's standard on the Mercedes, and that's really nice. Again, these are their standard buttons for Mercedes. High quality, high finish. Again, seat heaters and memory switches, thigh support, all of that. It's just really nice. Mood lighting. Before there was another company, but I don't know if Mercedes does this. When you open the door, it's like a red light to let people know, that the door is open. And in some situations, if a car is coming and the sensors pick it up, it won't even let you open the door. And I don't know if Mercedes has that feature. If you're aware of them having that feature, go ahead and leave it in the comment. But it would be a nice feature, something to ask about if you do plan on purchasing this car. This right here has been the Mercedes, again, the EQC 400. And trying to see what else we missed about this particular car. We talked about the range, and we talked about how it was with the Tesla. We also talked about the Ncap test and how it scored well for adults. Safety is scored well for child occupant, 5 stars, 5 stars for adults, and 5 stars for pedestrian. And so it did quite well, quite well. And the only negative thing that we shared with was there's no autonomous driving, and it's also built on a combustion chassis, and it doesn't get the range like a Tesla would get. And I think, but the charging numbers, as far as the time that it takes to charge and stuff like that, it's right on point. It's not too far behind Tesla. But overall, if you decided to get this car, you don't knock yourself. You made a great choice. It looked like they put a lot of time into this engineering and everything. They just didn't start from scratch. And it's still a nice, beautiful car. And I'm sure you will enjoy it. Remember, subscribe to this channel, AO Automotive Reviews, share, like, thumbs up, and thanks for your time. And I appreciate you for coming to this channel and giving me your support. You're the reason why, I do this channel, and you're the reason for my success. Again, share and subscribe. This has been the Mercedes EQC 400.
If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more interesting videos.